Good afternoon, everyone. And my name is Tetyana Šelепko. I'm Cambridge University Press ELT consultant. Today we are talking about culture, how culture matters at lower secondary classroom. And we will have quite a, I'd say, relaxed session since today it's mid-December and we are all preparing for Christmas. We're all preparing for New Year. And I'm really happy that there are still visitors to the webinar. So I hope I will not overload you with anything, and I hope that the session will be motivating today. So today's session, we will talk about culture, why culture matters, and how culture and language learning are connected, how it works at the lesson, and how it works for the new Ukrainian school. So why culture? We will start with the definitions, as we usually do at the lessons, I'd say, at the lectures. So the definition of culture, the first definition would be the arts and other manifestations of human intellectual achievement regarded collectively. So this is something about collective consciousness and something that people created, something that people achieved together. The ideas, customs, and social behavior of a particular people or society. So culture is not only about things that people created, but also about their social behavior in different situations, their customs, their ideas, their worldview, their world picture. So this is an important part here, because here, when we talk about culture, very often we think about art, music, theater, cinema, literature, but we omit very important things and subcultures, for example. And if you were at the previous webinars, we were talking about reading, and we touched the topic of teenage cultures, that every generation has their own specific culture, and this is how cultures are created. They are born within the teenagers. They are the stimuli of the cultural movement, usually. Okay, and as a verb, and this is what interests us the most, as a verb, to culture means to maintain in conditions suitable for growth. What does it mean? It's actually pedagogy. Yeah, culture as pedagogy, but not closed, locked in the school, right? It's pedagogy in general. So the main cultural goal is pedagogical. Why? We will see at the next slide. Do you recognize who this is? You can put that in the chat. Any ideas? You can put them in the chat. Okay, I have the word Greek in the chat. Roman. Roman would be closer. Latin would be very close. Okay, but who is this person? Italian, perfect. Absolutely Italian. But who is he? I'm not sure that he definitely looked like this, but this is mostly the only picture we have of this person. So this is Dante, the author of the very well-known comedy, as it was called at the beginning, right? So why I put him here? And why is he connected to culture? And why is he so popular these days, actually? Very often we have these days, we have people in philosophy coming back to Dante's works. We have people in different art spheres coming back to this particular story. But why? What he says, and these just so you know, these are the words not just mine. I join in this thought. I join my teacher Alexander Filonenko, who is also a philosopher and theologist and a great speaker as well. So what he says is that Dante lived, and all the people lived in very difficult times back then. That's why even though in Florence the life was amazing, still Dante definitely experienced not the best times of his life, because he was deported from his native city, and he had to leave his wife and his kids, and he didn't have the right to come back. So he was actually experiencing a really strong crisis when he wrote his most famous work. What does it mean? Later on, so this is the picture of the visual representation of his first part, Inferno, and Dante goes to the forest to Virgil. That's where he meets Virgil. Also a poet, a Roman poet. Dante in the Middle Ages meets poet from the Roman Empire, who also experienced crisis at his times when the empire was over. And after Dante, we also have another person in Italy who decides to talk about really important things being in the crisis. But here we have a more global crisis. So it was the time of plague walking everywhere in the Europe. This is Boccaccio, who wrote his Decameron in the middle of pandemic, actually. And why all this is interesting for us? And Boccaccio, after the pandemic, he became one of the teachers who would be teaching what Dante wrote to the citizens, because they didn't understand it well, and he was teaching what he meant to the citizens in Italy. And why these people, why they are important for us? Because actually they are the best representatives of the idea that in the most critical times, in the crisis, in pandemic, during the war, and so on, what helps people all the time, what drags them out of this depression and crisis, is always culture, is always the beauty. the beauty of poetry, the beauty of music, the beauty of film these days. And when we meet this beauty, and when we can relate to this beauty, we recognize the beauty in something, we feel much better. We are not looking into the situation of the crisis anymore, but our sight is directed to something beautiful, something on a different level of existence. And we can even say that according to our country, when we had in year 2014 all the events, you know about them, what was happening back then? Concerts, poetry readings, and actually the huge burst of culture in Ukraine. So culture is always a response to save people from critical situation. And it's always like that. The whole history works like that. And the moments of highest culture deeds, cultural, masterpieces, and people who create these masterpieces are always after the darkest times. And this is important for us. Why? Because just a few words about Cameron. So here we can see 7. This picture 5, but actually, and there are 2 more people walking in the background of the picture. So there are 7 girls who decided during the plague in Italy, who decided to do something, not just to sit down and wait. And they gathered with 3 other men and went out of the city in the country. They were staying in the country, and they were telling stories. And these stories were supposed to save them from this situation that they actually had. Just stories about love, about hate, about jealousy, about life, about friendship, and about all the virtues. And these things are important because they take our attention away from depression, and they give the hope. So in 2020 and in 2021, we had times, all of us had times when we didn't have hope, when we were losing our hope, but then we still came back to something that is really important. And many theaters opened up their best shows, which were available free online. Many organizations opened their archives. Many organizations started working actually much better than they did. Many theaters in Ukraine created their best shows in these 2 years. Many cinemas, many films were created, really great films. A lot of amazing music came out in the last 2 years. People had time to understand what's important. And it's about culture. It's about cultural background. And it's about the ability to turn our sight to something beautiful when, even in the darkest times. And this story is simple, very simple. It's banal, right? But at the same time, it's important to remind ourselves that it's about culture. It's about developing our students as cultural personalities. And what I'm showing here is another Hectomeron story as a continuation of Decameron. And this is a great theatrical project that happened this year, and I also staged one of the stories. So there were 100 theater makers from 100 countries creating 100 Boccaccio stories, and this is an amazing thing in which people can connect to each other and realize how close they are to each other, even though they are in the different countries, but still they are close in their perception of the world. And this is the thing we need to teach to our students. So when we have students coming to our classroom in the 5th grade, what would be the first thing? So here we have a teacher, a big great teacher, and a little great student. How do we start the process? We have a lot of material to teach, to cover, right? We need to lead them from level 1 to level 2 in 1 year. This is our task, and so on and so on. And we feel so much pressure about it, but what's the most important? It's not the results, right? It's about the process and how this process works. When a student comes, he or she would see a person, first of all. When we meet another person, it means we create the eye contact. We see the eyes, and we at once we decide whether we can connect to this person or not. So having open eyesight is really important for students, so they can see your eyes, they can see a person in you. And then when they finally see the person, of course, here I have Queen Elizabeth. And Queen Elizabeth's eyesight would be directed to something else, to English culture, for example, to British culture, or to British to British theatre, to British films. And how it happened in my school. My English teacher, who actually influenced my whole future life, but back then in the 9th grade, I guess, she was teaching English literature and American literature in next year, in the 10th grade. So my teacher of English literature was so excited about English literature. She was so engaged in that, and she was so happy when she was teaching it that we couldn't resist. Everybody knew English literature, the best of even Ukrainian literature, because that was amazingly engaging. And she was a huge fan of British theatre, so that's my path again. How it works. So first we look at a person, and we want to follow this person, to be like this person in one way or another. And then we look at what this person is interested in. And we start being interested in the things this person is interested in. For example, it can be something different. It can be a physics teacher who would be really interested in music, and we become interested in music, or a math teacher. They are often interested in music, right? So I get my interest in math first. I get acquainted to this person, and then I see this connection, and from this interest in the subject, I take something else. I realize that somehow mathematics and music are connected, and I am interested in a much bigger thing than just the subject, because I'm interested in the person, and any person is bigger than any other subject if this person serves this subject, right? So that's a little bit a paradox, but still, when I look at Queen Elizabeth, my teacher, and then I redirect my eyesight where she looks, right? Because here, I'm looking here. If somebody comes up to me and asks me, what are you looking at? I would say, look. And we start looking together. That's how we become friends, because together we experience the beauty of something. We, in my case, together with my teacher, I was experiencing the beauty of English literature, of Shakespeare, for example. And this is how the first steps in teacher-student connection should be happening according to many pedagogical philosophies before the 20th century. And with New Ukrainian School, what we are doing, we are trying to come back to this philosophy where we are not interested in just reproducing the knowledge to the students to cover material. That cannot be the goal. And important thing for a good teacher is to get students interested and make them follow you, first of all. And after they follow you, they follow what you're interested in. And yeah, this is how this connection is happening. So when you are interested in culture, student would be interested in the same culture if he's interested in you. But there is an instrument. You are interested in this culture through the language. And we all know that the language is the cultural code, that when we decipher this code, we reveal something much bigger than just connections of words. And that's how they are connected, the language and the culture. Now, I will show you how it works in the New Ukrainian School and how it works at the lessons. We will have an example from Prepare Ukrainian Edition, 5th grade. And in this book, there are 7 culture blocks. Every 4th unit, there is a culture block. So 2 units, culture block, another 2 units, life skills block. Then again, 2 units, again, culture block. Why 7? Because first 2 blocks go right after the 2 units. And here we have the United Kingdom and Ukraine, cities and towns. These are 2 blocks going one after another. Getting students familiar with the cities and towns in the United Kingdom, and then giving them the ability to compare how different cultures work and how we can present our culture through English language, and how we can dive into English culture through English language as well. Then we have holidays. And as I told you before, behaviors, customs are also a part of culture. Here we have holidays in the USA and in Ukraine. And again, we can compare those. Then we have youth clubs in the UK. Yeah, this is more of a social topic, but still it's about culture, because that's the cradle of culture, youth clubs. These are the things that later move the history, the whole history. The youth clubs as scouts were moving history of the USA for quite a long time. Pioneers in the Soviet Union. That's where everything was starting, right? So youth clubs in the UK. And this is the topic we will stop at today. Then we have museums around the world, more of an art topic or a history topic. There are several museums represented. And beach culture in Australia and New Zealand. Beach culture. So there is a particular culture. And from the 5th grade, due to these topics, students can realize that whatever happens around them when they are creating something together with other people, when they create some set of rituals, when they create, we would call them routines at school, right? So a set of routines, everyday routines. Hello, how do we say it? Good morning, good morning, good morning to you, and things like that, right? Something we do every lesson, every English lesson. This is already the culture of our classroom, right? Yeah. So let's move on. This is the topic, youth clubs in the UK, from Prepare Ukrainian edition for the 5th grade in the new Ukrainian school. This is for the next year. And page 70-71, I suppose, we will look at this lesson and how exactly it works. So the first task would be work in pairs, talk about questions. What do you do after school? Where do you go after school? What do you like doing with your friends? Something very simple, something we would do for any topic, but why this particular questions? This is very wisely created. This block is very wisely created because these are the 3 questions that revise the topics, the vocabulary and grammar from the previous 4 units. So what do you do after school? We have the topic activities, free time activities. Then where do you go after school? We have the topic places, and places and directions. What do you like doing with your friends? This is a grammar topic, like doing, love doing, hate doing, and so on. This is something they learned before as well. So we recycle the main grammar structures and the main vocabulary from the whole block of units, and then we can start diving into the topic of the youth clubs, which is connected to everything we've learned before. So what I would suggest is not just to answer the questions in pairs or something, but to create a survey, maybe a class survey or a survey in groups of 3 people, where we have an interviewer, student A, student B. Every student receives such a paper or makes a table in the notebook and asks questions one by one. So I would ask student A, what do you do after school? Student A tells me, I go boxing. Student B says, I go playing the guitar after school. So I would put that activity, boxing, guitar, enough. Yeah. Then I ask all of these questions, and what we do next, we compare ourselves to each other and find what's in common, find what's different. We do it in the same groups of 3, and then me as a teacher, I would ask an interviewer, so dear interviewer, what does student B do after school? And his task is not just to answer, but to form a normal question. For example, John goes, what did he do? Goes playing guitar, playing the guitar after school. And we ask for feedback, but what we actually do, we recycle different forms of the use of present simple. So we have a question, we have the first person singular, we have the third person singular, where students will definitely say he go swimming, he go playing, and things like that. And we have this possibility to recycle again, make the delayed error correction, and so on. All right, then we finally come to the reading part. So there is an article, but it is important that none of these culture sections, none of them are directed at reading. These sections are not for reading or listening. The texts exist there to get familiar to the topic, to later make the successful project. So give students the background to create their own project. And we have 2 lessons for this culture lesson, how we call it, section. We have only 2 lessons. The first lesson finishes on the 2nd page. And the second lesson would be presentation of the new projects and watching the video and working on the video. And what do we do here? Read the City Youth Club blog. Are the sentences right or wrong? What would we do? First, we ask students to read these sentences in the task 2. And then we ask student A read 3 first blocks, and student B reading block 4, 5, and 6. You can see it in the picture. This is what we call shared reading in the secondary classroom, not the primary, because in the primary we do it with the teacher. Here we read in pairs. We divide the material because we actually need it to answer the questions in pairs, but not to read and show you how beautifully I can read. Yeah. So by this exercise, we develop students' responsibility before another person, because I have to read as fast as my partner reads, and then we together work on the task, and the success of this task depends on me as well as on my partner, right? So here we develop this responsibility as well. With the statements here, right or wrong, on the right of the slide, you can see them. With the statements in mind, we read this page and we then tick right or wrong according to the material we read. So we answer together. If needed, we share information, and we need to check it. Yeah. So I ask my partner to show me where in the text it is, so I can check. And this is how I read my partner's blogs as well. So this trick is tricky from the teacher as well. Then read the blog again, write the names. We still work together. We are trying to do it as fast as possible, write the names, then come back to reading check, and that's it. And we actually already read the text 3 times. First 2 times, maybe we spent half of a minute skimming this text and answering true or false questions. And then the second time we found more detail, and this is the second time we read the text. And then we have one more time to read the text, because we need to get the meaning of the words from the context. So again, we need the context. And we actually are familiar with this text. It's not about sitting, reading, and understanding every word. It's about giving our students responsibility. And then we ask them to write true sentences about you. The book says, write true sentences about you. I would transform this question, guess what's false or guess where's lie, and ask students to write down 2 sentences that are true. 1 sentence would be a lie. Then I write it down on a card or on a piece of waste paper. I write down 3 statements. I like swimming. I don't like climbing. I don't know if I like going to the theater. That would be student A. I write it down, fold this paper, and give it to student B. Student B gives his paper to student C. Student C gives his paper to me. We open them up, and we are trying to guess. So I think that student C likes swimming. True. I don't like playing football. I think he likes playing football. I don't know if I like flying. I don't believe that. I know that you went to, I don't know, to Hawaii last summer and you were flying, you were in the plane, so I don't believe you. You know, yeah, that's the lie. I did go, and something like that. So we ask them to make 2 true sentences, 1 lie, and discuss in groups what is the truth and what is the lie. And that's how we spark more interest within students, because it's more personalized. And finally, we are going to the project. In this project, what we need to do is our own blog page. I would give out the posters to the groups of students, like a group of 4 would be enough. So I give them a poster and they create these brainstorming groups. In the group, they need to have a timekeeper who would set the time limit, who would be checking, because the teacher sets the time limit, and telling, like, we have 2 minutes left, we have 1 minute left, we have 30 seconds, time's up. One person who is responsible for time, another person who is responsible for noting things down, and all of them are responsible for contributing in the ideas. So students contribute in all the ideas. What's the name of your youth club we have here? We generate ideas. And I give students, for example, 7 minutes to complete everything. When is it open? We decide what's time. Who can go there? We write the list. Then things you can do. What different activities can people do there? Okay, we put that down. Places, we can draw that, right? So this is our draft, our working material, and we finish with it after teacher sets the alarm clock or something. We finish working on this draft, and we present it to the classroom, and classroom might contribute their own idea, not classroom, just the class. They can contribute their ideas, how we can improve this project. They can make their notes. They can even steal some ideas for their project. That's possible. Well, this is how startups work, right? So after that, we come back, make improvements, and then, well, we need to gather with our group after school or at the weekend before the next lesson, before the next English lesson. This would be our homework, to create a beautiful poster and to present our page in a very beautiful way. It can be also a PowerPoint presentation or something like this, but the best way in the 5th grade is actually creating a poster together. And it is important to make it all according to the roles of the students, because very often one student would be doing everything and others would be sitting getting bored. And here it's important that the teacher nominates the roles, and the poster could be as a collage, right? So one person is responsible for all the text materials, or a part of text materials, another part, and if we have a group of 4, one person for visuals and one person for presenting this poster in the classroom. For example, if you need all of them to talk at the end, then again, up to you how you nominate the roles. Okay. And now we will come to the video that goes at the second lesson of culture section. Here we have a video and a video worksheet. The video worksheet contains a pre-watching task. So here we have work with a partner and discuss the questions. Again, this, but still, we can just discuss it with a partner. What are the scouts? You can actually ask that open classroom, right? What are scouts? What do they do? And that you can turn to partners to discuss, or they can still discuss it in their own groups. Do you have a scout group near you? Not really. Are you a scout? Why not? Not with our teenagers to discuss that, right? So we can create our own questions, or we can play some game. We can show a picture to the student and ask them something about this picture. What's he doing? And actually, there is a picture here. What's he doing? How old are they? What do you think? How old are they? And we can ask students to make their own questions according to this picture, or on the topic scouts, and so on. So any associations, the discussion is active. But if there is a question like, are you a scout? Why not? We don't have to take it, right? This particular question. Okay. Right. Now we will watch the video, and your task would be to note all the activities that you hear. Like playing football and so on, from the topic activities. Here we go with the video.
What do you like to
What do you like to do after school?
Watch TV?
Watch TV?
Play computer
games?
Hang out with
Hang
friends?
out with friends?
Help people in
Help
your community?
people in your community?
Some kids join
clubs or organizations
so they can make
friends
and help
their community.
One club is
One
called
club
the
is
Boy
called
Scouts.
the Boy Scouts.
A man called
W.D. Boyce
started the Boy Scouts in the United States in 1908. He wanted to help young men learn outdoor skills and also be helpful to their communities. By 1910, there were Boy Scout clubs in Sweden, Mexico, Argentina, Canada, Australia, and South Africa. At first, Boy Scouts were boys from 11 to 15 years old, but soon younger boys wanted to join. Now there are the Cub Scouts, for boys under the age of 10. Of course, there are clubs for girls too. The Girl Scouts organization started in 1912. The Girl Scouts teach girls courage, compassion, confidence, and leadership. They also teach them how to sell things, like cookies. Lots of Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts make lots of good friends. So, what kind of club do you want to join?
Okay, which activities you heard in this video? Like after school activities. You can put them in the chat. Okay, have help people watch TV. Activity, sell cookies, perfect, this is activity. Play computer games, great. Hang out with friends, perfect. All right, I think that would be enough. Join the clubs. Well, that is an activity. Okay, thanks a lot. Now, what we can do with this task? Before the video, we would revise these activities. I wasn't doing it with you, but sorry. Okay, excuse me. Okay, that happened. Sorry. Fine. So this is the task after the video. There would be another task to explain what is compassion, what is courage, and so on. But here we also have a funny task with questions at the end. And this is kind of a productive part of the lesson, but why is it important to help people in the community? This is a kind of a question that can't be interesting on its own. Just sit down, read it in the worksheet, and answer it with a partner. We need to organize the process where students are active. So what we can do, a gallery walk. Most probably you're familiar with this activity, but I love this activity the most with students. They love walking around, making impression. They're doing this gallery walk. So what's the idea? Stick the posters with the questions from the end of the book, of the worksheet. Stick these questions in the classroom on the walls, and ask students if they can bring stickers for this lesson. That would be perfect. If not, you can use blue tack, you can use tape. So you can be there to assist with sticking their ideas. But the task is for them to walk in the classroom, read all the questions, remember these questions, sit down, come back to their team, and in the team discuss each question very fast. They have only 1 minute for one question, for example, or 3 minutes for one question. So they discuss, they put down the best statement, and run back to the poster. Somebody can run back to the poster, stick it to the poster, come back and discuss the second question. Decide the statement. So each team does this. That's a complete mess, but all of them would be speaking English, trying to form the best sentence. Around it, like discussing something and trying to get to this idea. They might use Ukrainian, but still, it's better if they don't. If there is in the group, if there is a person who would be the language monitor, who would tell the whole group, like, guys, this is English. We need to find the way to speak English, like to form the sentence together in English. So they stick everything, then time's up, and students stand up and walk in the classroom to see other answers and compare with their own answer, and they can share ideas with other teams here. Another one, you can give them a statement instead and ask to rate whether they agree or disagree with this statement, right? For example, Scout organizations are the best for teenagers. Somebody would strongly agree, somebody would strongly disagree, and then you ask, if you don't want that mess in the classroom, you ask them to fill it out, and hands up those who have 6, hands up those who have 1, and you pair them 1 with 6 and ask them to persuade each other why, or explain why they think so with such polar ideas. To find more ideas for activities, you can go through these activities. This is the QR code that will lead you to activity life competencies, activity cards, which you can use at any kind of lessons. And the previous one is a brochure with life competencies. Please look through it and find important things that will be really helpful for the new Ukrainian school in the 5th grade. There is also still a platform for teachers working where you can pass the test and get your professional development certificate. And but before that, you will need to go through the secondary teachers course specifically for the teachers who would be teaching next year, would be teaching in the 5th grade. And another code that will lead you to the pilot project materials from the Linguist Company and Cambridge University Press, which is Prepare Ukrainian Edition, an amazing course that works perfectly well with the new Ukrainian school program, that works perfectly well on this level of language and with this level, with this age of students, with its super relevant topics and really engaging tasks. Loads of videos. You saw one today. You can find more videos here following this QR code. You can find sample materials from the student's book, activity book, teacher's book, the full teacher's book, which is actually a great methodology handbook for a teacher. Just reading it will help you learn so many activities. For any other classroom, it's the teacher's book is great. So make sure to check out all the materials and other useful supplementary things that we have on Linguist Publishing. And just to remind that this year is finishing, and the word of the year from Cambridge Online Dictionary is perseverance, the continued effort to do or achieve something, even when this is difficult or it takes a long time. This was the word that was looked up in the dictionary the most. And I think it tells a lot about people who are learning English in 2021. It tells a lot, first of all, because this is the C1 level word. And because people today are interested in technology, because the word comes from the name of the shuttle that went to the space, and because the meaning of its word. And as we started, that whenever we are like feeling in the crisis, when it's difficult to teach, to implement the reform into this way of teaching today, when we don't know how many students are going to come tomorrow, and we don't know even if the school will be open tomorrow, maybe we will have to teach online again. But this is what will help us, perseverance, to achieve our goals no matter what. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. Before we finish, I will be waiting for your questions, and remind you that the certificate will be available right after we I finish the webinar. You will see the green button that will lead you to the contact form. After completing the contact form, you will get the certificate. Or you will receive a thank you letter to your email, and there will be a link to the contact form. So there are two ways. I suggest filling out the form right after the webinar, so you get everything at once, because you will need to wait for the thank you letter for a while. If there are no questions, these were my contact details. If you need anything, email me, please. And right, thank you very much. That's it for today. Have a great end of the year, and I'm wishing you all the perseverance, and I'm wishing you to have great holidays, to finish your work as fast and as calm, right? Just calm, sorry. As fast and as calm as possible, and enjoy the holidays.